Was this not a democratic decision, though, that was made?
Well, what I'd have to say to you is that there was a decision made 11 years ago, and Sinn Féin hasn't brought it. It's set for 11 years before they actually try to have it implemented. And I also think that it may have been made by democratic politicians, but I think that there's democratic flaws in how they actually carried out the process.
You called this a revolution with a small r. What did you mean by that?
Well, what I meant by that, by saying it was a revolution with a small r, the people have spoken, and we talk about democracy. What people are saying is that they're not happy with the type of democracy that we have got, and that the problem is that they believe that Sinn Féin, being a Republican party, are taking everything away, and nobody else is challenging that. And what they want is, I think that people are saying we're okay with compromise, but it can't be surrendered.
But talking about compromise, isn't Northern Ireland now a more shared society? And is that not what's at the root of this? Do people not want to share?
No, it's not what's at the root of it, because Sinn Féin have been in power since 1998, and they have not implemented anything through any good relations policies or through a shared future. It doesn't exist. So from that point of view, Republicans don't want to share. There is no way in this society that a former loyalist prisoner would have a child's play park named after him. We had that with a Republican prisoner, and I think that that's not about sharing the future. That's about actually trying to beat people into surrender.
Where does this go from here? Because we have seen violence again on the streets of Belfast, and
well, I think what we need to remember is that we have seen disturbances on the street of Belfast. There's been 117 protests where there's been no violence. What we've seen last week in Londonderry, and I think everybody missed it, was that we had an explosive device that came from Iraq or Afghanistan that was used there, and it's now on the streets. We understood that the IRA decommissioned, but still it called Semtex was used in this very explosive thing. And I think that everybody needs to tell us, is there a difference between dissidents and mainstream Republicans? Because it's dissident Republicans who are carrying out active violence. They killed a prison officer a number of weeks ago. They've had attacks on civilians and on British soldiers, and I think that we need to get that sorted out.
But there has been violence.
Well,
there's
been disturbances. There's been clashes with the police, but I think that we need to put this in context. 117 protests have had no violence.
Do you think what's going on what kind of does that do to the reputation of loyalism?
Well, I mean, I think that what we need to remember is that, and this is a problem with the media, I tend to think, and this is not a slight on yourselves, but the media in Northern Ireland, including the BBC, tend to put out IRA propaganda. Now, we need to get beyond IRA propaganda, because that's what they say, because the tactics of Republicans' propaganda is that Ulster loyalists should be criminalised and that they should work with middle-class unionists. Now, that's not going to happen.
Do you think this is much more about whether a flag is up and flying? Is it much more about that? Do people feel that this is an attack on the symbols that mean something to them, to their...
I think that people feel that this is an attack on them. It's an attack on their dignity. And I think that, people need to realise that we need to have reconciliation. I think that lots of foreign media stations come here to talk to us, and they all believe that we have a post-conflict society. We don't. We have a post-ceasefire society. We have not dealt with the past, and we need to deal with it. And therefore, if we're going to deal with all of these symbols, we need Republicans back in, stop talking about war, and getting on and talking about peace.
How do you deal with the past? How do you do it then?
Well, I mean, I think that we need, there is no doubt that we have two sets of people, and more than two sets of people, but the two main traditions in Northern Ireland are British and Irish. That's the first thing we need to recognise. The second thing we need to recognise is that we all live in this part of the United Kingdom. And then the third thing is that we need to recognise how we actually do something about that and make, I suppose, create a peaceful future. But the difficulty is that we're not even at that stage. The groundwork needs to be done. We need to have reconciliation, and then we can talk about the compromise.
Was it not a compromise, though, really, to have the flag up for some time of the year and down for some other times of the year? Is that not a compromise?
Well, I suppose in the real world, yes, but we're not living in the real world, because the reason why we're not living in the real world is because Sinn Féin is out there politically agitating on the ground, and what they're doing is that they're outside the spirit of the Good Friday Agreement, but they're in government. Now, the reality is you can't do the two things. You either do one or the other. So either get out of government and be outside the spirit, or stay in government and be in the spirit. That's what I'm asking for.
How will this end, do you think? Because do you think that the decision will be reversed over the flag? How will this end? How do you want to see it end?
Well, I think what I want to see is that I want to see loyalism politicise themselves. I want to see loyalism, taking this on, and they have to take on this whole notion of that, the Brits out stuff. That's what we want to see. It has to be done with through peaceful means. And I think that, as far as I'm concerned, the process that was used to bring the flag down is wrong, and we must challenge that. But that has to be challenged through equality and through the courts.
Would you condemn those who've used violence or disturbances in the last few days?
I've been very clear that while violence goes on around the around the protests, the message can't be heard. I'm very clear. I am probably the only leader of any unionist party who said this. I'm not going to desert the people. I'm actually going to support them. They shouldn't be involved in violence. We want peaceful protest, and we want people to hear that our Britishness is our Britishness, and it won't go away. It's going to stay. The reality is that nobody can use violence. That's not what we want. We want peaceful protest, and we want political action, because that's what this is about. We need more political activists who are out there doing the work on the ground, and that's what we want. Everybody has a right to protest, but with that right comes your responsibility, and that responsibility is no violence, peaceful protest.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.